Alright, what's up everybody, Zodiac here. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Alright, today's video, I'm actually going to go over the arts code setup. To do this example, I've actually brought out my Tisei, and she currently has nothing. She does have a few little things that are considerate, and this is from back in chapter 1, where she's actually a party member. And the other two arts codes that she had, I just went on ahead and deleted them so we can actually start fresh. My goal in this video is to go over the arts codes, how to set it up, and actually show you how all the recordings are done. I haven't done too much experimentation with the arts codes since all the patches and everything else, and apparently they were supposed to make a bunch of things better for the AI function more like they were supposed to and how they originally intended. However, I have not tested this. My party members pretty much act the same when I'm running my normal party because I set them up myself. I really haven't noticed, them acting or performing better. So we're gonna do a couple things. This video is actually gonna give me some information. It's gonna give you guys a lot of information. Hopefully you guys can take something from this and get a few little pointers out of it. So, like I was saying before, my Tisei currently has no records on. So let me explain a little bit about the system really quick. You have a persona, anima. Anima has no bearing on the arts codes themselves. These generally just give different buffs. Adroit, for example, arts code randomly applies a boost to skill point gains. So Adroit is really good if you're farming skill points, you're low on skill points. You can equip that anima to any of your characters in party. Of course, you can equip it to any character, of course, if you have, Tisei 100% out, which I don't yet. I do plan on raising her affection and all that other stuff later on. Just one of the many things that I haven't gotten around to because there is a lot to do in this game and it can be overwhelming at times. Back on subject, we've got our persona or our anima. Persona is actually an arts code. You can go into your store and you can change these to any of the ones that you have unlocked. Just for today's purposes, I'm actually going to leave hers as is because I have her skills set up in kind of a mix of combat and healing skills. You'll see my reasoning behind that later. So the actual arts codes themselves are down here, and you have these listed 1 through 5. Now these go through order of importance. The actual arts codes themselves are listed here. Currently we're blank. Persona is always listed as 0, so this is the highest priority that any character will have. So when choosing this and setting up your characters, my main character has Fiery attached to it, and the reason behind that is because Fiery gives a critical hit chance buff. How you set up your AI characters though, that's completely up to you. If you don't want to run this as a player, you can run whatever you want at the end of the day. I have this set up, to basically produce as much damage as possible I have on this character, so that's the reason he is running Fiery. Uptype is also a really good anima to run, as it gives a 30% flat attack when it's maxed out. So, totally up to you guys what you guys want to run in here. All of my other characters, they have different ones attached to them. I've left Officina's Luxter on here, which gives the benefit of having an extra drop or two when you're actually killing enemies. And I left Benevolent on requirement party HP decrease because she is my healer. Personas, you can edit the actual nodes within them, as you can see here. However, you can't change the requirement. If you want a different arts code with a different requirement or different persona, you have to go to storage and you have to select from the ones that you have unlocked. And depending on how you want to build that character and play, you might have to go through, raise some companions up to 100%. Completely up to you. So that would be one type of arts codes, the personas. They're their own, kind of individual thing, give their own requirement. You can only have certain types of skills that go under that requirement. So these arts codes down here are actually generated a couple different ways, and that's why I say we have multiple different types of arts codes. You can have AI generated ones, which happen naturally as you're out and about. You take certain actions or have your allies do certain actions, they'll actually record on their own. They'll create the arts codes, the requirement, and then fill themselves out. The next part would actually be creating it yourself, which would be character created, or not character created, player created arts codes. To do that, you just select on an empty slot, click record new, and it's going to give you a couple of different options here. And I'm not going to go through and list everything, you guys can read them for yourselves. But I am going to create one here really quick. We're going to go down and never miss a chain opportunity. One thing to note, when you are creating an arts code, some of the AI generated ones will actually have different requirements. I wouldn't say requirements. One thing to do note when you are creating new arts codes, as you can see up here, we have taunt enemies, attack and break enemy formation, never miss a chain opportunity. We're going to click on never miss a chain opportunity. And as soon as you select it, it's going to ask you for a trigger. I use, generally for, you know, my AI partners, I'll use attack enemy struck by partner. That way it's always there. And depending on what weapon they have equipped, it'll actually ask you for a main skill to start off with. So it has a node already attached to it. We're going to use Sonic Leap. Alright, so I brought my Leaf into the party. And what I was explaining earlier, when you create a arts code yourself, you do have a couple different options. This is a fine example of an AI generated one. Alright, this one is launch staggered enemy. If you notice, we come back over here to TSay, record new, we don't have that option. So that's why I say there are different types of arts codes. Some of them we can get creating ourselves, some of them we can't. That's a perfect example of it. So whether you want to go through and create all these arts codes yourself, that's completely up to you as a player, or you can let the AI generate some of them for you. Completely up to you. So far we've had 3 different types of arts codes. You've got your personas, your character generated, and your AI generated arts codes. There would be a 4th type technically. You don't have to quote me on this. You can get arts codes from the internet. And we'll actually go up here and pull that really quick. So we get a network menu. You can actually select one from your storage. You can actually upload these on the network yourself for arts codes that you've created. You can actually search by art code. You just come up here, select the character that you want, select the weapon type. And I'm not going to go into specifically searching for one right now. You guys kind of get the general idea from that. And you can pull in those arts codes. Asuna actually has 2 perform recovery actions downloaded off the internet. Now I will say this, the only disadvantage to downloading arts codes off of the network is you have no idea what skills are attached to them and what that player or how that player was playing when he created them. So do be careful. You know, you might have 3 skills equipped that were on that arts code. Great, it works out fine for you. Good. However, you know, they might use completely different skills than you. There's a couple different things that can happen with that. Now I have noticed that sometimes AI generated arts codes and allies to use abilities and stuff that they don't have equipped. So that might also be a possibility. I haven't really played around with it too much as far as the network arts codes. One thing they can do for an improvement eventually, I'd probably say the biggest improvement would be a way for players to list what skills and combat skills they have equipped when they're uploading these. That way the player can actually, you know, kind of set up the same way that person that recorded the arts code had their character set up. But that's something to keep in mind. That's something I really haven't had a time to play around with. If you guys have any comments for that, you know, send me a comment below. I'd love to know, you know, as much as I possibly can about that with the network codes. Alright, so going back, we're actually going to record a little bit now, and then I'll actually go into detail about how to edit the stats and everything else. There is one important thing that everybody should know, especially when it comes to healing arts codes. We'll get into that a little bit when I actually go through and look at the different stats. So for right now, let's actually just play around a little bit. I'm going to hop on TSay, and we're going to go kill some beasties really quick. So depending on the different states of the game and how the opponent is, the opponent's in like a break state, or if basically anything that could possibly happen to the enemy, any type of debuff or anything like that, it's going to record depending on what actions you use. So attack and break enemy's formation, that just recorded. So enemy was probably in a fatal state, I used a certain sword skill, it's going to record that. And you'll see, since I had 4 empty spots, it's recording quite a bit right now. I'm just going around using a few little sword skills. We're actually going to take a look at this in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and wipe these guys out. I should just use this for giggles. Alright, so just off that little bit of combat, let's go back into our arts codes. And let's go back to TSA. Alright, so the AI generated 2 more arts codes for us. Now, perform rush attacks required enemy not attacking. Let's go down and try to create that really quick. So record new, perform rush attack. Okay, enemies not attacking, so that's actually one we could create ourselves. Let's go into these and break them down a little bit more. So we come down here and go to edit. Alright. So thinking, AI has to think in order to take any action. Sometimes I don't think they think enough. Who knows? I think I thought. Say that 10 times really fast. Anyway, there's a couple different parameters you can edit in these. Alright, for this one, alright, attack and break enemy formation, required enemy in special state. So special state, they're broken, they're in the air, they're on the ground, they're broken, whatever those stats are. Enemy's paralyzed, no telling. Alright, so this status particular is enemy status battle. And down here you can actually change a couple of these stats to behave how you want them to behave. You can make it as advanced as you want, you can make it as simple as you want. That's completely up to you. So our default one, enemy status battle. So the enemy is in combat. Alright. Distance from enemy 7 meters, which she's using a one-handed sword. I hope she would be in a distance of 7 meters. Sometimes the AI like to walk around and think how they want to think regardless of what we do. But you'll see here it actually came out with a nice little chain state. This is nice, neat, and clean. And hopefully one of these won't be so nice, neat, and clean, so I can actually show you guys what I mean by cleaning up your arts codes and going back in and editing them and modifying them. So this one was actually set up pretty clean though. Use horizontal arc, use horizontal square. Now, in order to get them to do the whole entire pattern, someone's asked before, you know, if I have the horizontal skill, will they actually go into horizontal arc and horizontal square? Yes and no. They will go into horizontal arc and horizontal square if you've actually played on the character and successfully performed that chain while you're either using the character or using that weapon. So if you want them to use vertical arc or vertical square, you're gonna have to set So if you want them to use vertical arc and vertical square, you're actually gonna have to go on that character or with your main character with the same type of weapon for them to use those abilities. You have to successfully pull it off. They won't think and be smart enough to do it on their own, unfortunately. So looking at my Leafa really quick, let's actually go into hers and edit hers for a second. Alright, this is why it's super important to go back in and clean up your arts codes. Now this one isn't too bad, this is actually different. So this is never miss a chain opportunity, attack enemy struck by partner. This is one that I've created and one I've recorded myself. Use sonic leap. Use horizontal, and you'll see down here it actually splits off into 2 separate branches. So this one is, the enemy is available for chain attack, yes. Enemy status is in battle, going ahead and use horizontal square. Down here, enemy not debuffed by horizontal arc. So horizontal arc is actually a debuff, and that's why it's super important that you guys actually read over your skills too, and what they arc into, or what they transition into. Special attack, horizontal arc. Enemy not debuffed, use horizontal arc. Enemy has this weakness. Enemy has this weakness enhanced. I'm actually not familiar with this one. But apparently at the time I was recording this, enemy didn't have the debuff for horizontal arc. It went into that. And then enemy has this weakness. Use horizontal square. So there's a couple different options for it to use this during a chain attack when I have this profile on. You'll see down here we also have 2 different sonic leaps as well. Sonic leap 1 is available for chain attack, yes. Distance from enemy 7 meters, enemy struck by partner. So they'll jump in really quick if I attack them to get that chain burst. Down here, this one's just available for chain attack, yes. If it's distance 10 meters from the enemy, it'll hop in. I don't have to attack in order for that chain never miss a chain opportunity to trigger. Launch staggered enemy. Let's take a look at this one really quick. Alright, so this is the weird part, and that's why I say you need to clean up your arts codes. Alright, I was apparently using vertical at this point in time. I didn't successfully pull off vertical arc or vertical square, and I was probably sitting there spamming it and trying to get it to record right. That's how this happened. Alright, enemy is hazarded. Use vertical. Great, that's awesome. That's how vertical is supposed to be used. Available for chain attack. Yes, I might not want this character to use vertical though. I wanted to use it obviously if it's hazarded. This might actually not be a bad one to leave though, available for chain attack. But you'll see here I have same thing. Use vertical. Usage rate 99%, usage rate 26. So basically what this is gonna say, hey, the enemy is hazarded, I'm gonna use vertical. Say something I didn't hit it or anything else, something happened, it'll try to use it again if the enemy is still in a hazard state. But generally when you hit an enemy with vertical, it's going to go into a hazard state and go into a fatalized state. You can knock it down on the ground. So this is something that I would actually want to remove. But this just gives you guys a little bit of an idea of how everything records and how everything moves around. You can customize it, you can try to pull off certain moves during certain times. The AI is only going to be as smart as you make it. Now I will say this, if you don't want to do that on each individual character, that's fine, you don't. You can equip the weapon on your main character, record it, and you can actually store it by clicking on the actual arts code and clicking copy. Once you copy it, it goes to storage. So if you ever want to delete something, try something new out, you can copy it, delete it, bring it back later, pull those back up. You just click on it, go to your storage, and you can pull any of those back. Do be careful though, depending on how you have it recorded. Unfortunately, there's not a good way to divide these up. For example, this is my 1 through 5 right here. They record in chronological order, so the order that they come into the storage system. So these were probably some of the first ones that I actually ever made for one-handed swords. So be careful. Depending on where you recorded it, you might not remember where it is. Always good to note that. Maybe keep a notebook or something like that. I don't know. Completely up to you guys. Just be careful. So I can actually go to my TSA really quick, and I'll actually do that. I can actually pull those art codes. That buff ally is... I'll still work full. See, this is another example of what I was saying. The little handshake thing here. This was one that the AI generated for me. Chain attack with partner. Sync attacks with partner. Now, this is pretty cool though, because I actually haven't seen that one in a very long time, and I haven't been able to reproduce it. Like I'm saying, this is a fun system to play around with, guys. The possibilities are endless. Last thing I do want to show you guys too before we get out of this. Oop, not storage. That's Zodiac. Alright, this is an example of the healing tree. And you'll see here Luminous, party member HP is set to 80%. This was not 80% when I set this originally, it was party member HP 99%. You need to pay attention to the healer art codes a lot, because a lot of the time the party member HP will be 99%. And as soon as you go into battle and anybody takes any type of damage, they're going to pop every single skill they have in order to get the party member HP back up to above 99%, which is not optimal. And there would be times when, you know, my main character would take a ton of damage and I would tab over to Asuna really quick to see what skill she had up, and everything was gone because a lot of them had the 99% HP, and it took me a little while to figure that out. So that's going a little bit into detail with the arts code, guys. If you guys have any more problems or any questions with the system, you can always message me on our Discord. There is an Alicization Lycoris tab where we can talk about in-game states. Zodiac is my main tag in there. I'll actually pull up my gamer tag really quick. That's how you spell it. Zodiac Ultimate. I don't know where that ultimate comes from on there. That's my gamer tag, so you can just add Zodiac inside the Discord. There will be a link below in the video. And I'm always down to talk about whatever. If you guys want to talk about builds, everything else, I'm always open to talk about it and help everybody out. So not a problem. Don't feel like you're bugging me. Come on in and chat with us. You know, if you just want to post funny memes, we got a spot for that too. But I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, guys. I know I've recorded probably a good chunk of time for trying to go over all of it. I will try to make the video as short as possible. That way I won't sit on here jammering all day. But like I said, hit that subscribe button. I will try to put out new videos weekly. I am having a bit of a tassel with editing videos right now, but hopefully that process is going to be sped up quite a bit, so I'll actually be able to put out videos like crazy. Because there's a lot to cover in this game, and there are already a bunch of other YouTubers who also put it out. I'm just putting a different perspective on the different things that I see and things that I would like explained a little bit better, or not a little bit better in my sense, a little bit differently. You know, everybody has their own way of explaining this and that. That's fine. Everybody else also does a great job. All the other YouTubes that also cover Alicization Lycoris, you guys are great. But this is just hopefully to give a little bit more detail and information on a few points. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, Zodiark out.